Let's talk about it.
Hello, and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the podcast where we talk about gaining and everything in its orbit. I'm James.
And I'm Tim. So let's get into it. Today we are joined by a special guest. Today we have Ben.
Hi,
Hello,
Ben.
everybody.
How are you today? Are you doing well?
Fine here. Just started the weekend.
Yes, it is a Friday. It is the end of the week. We're grateful. The week is over. And now we can relax on the weekend, though I look at Tim. Are you working this weekend?
I am working this weekend, so this will not be a relaxing weekend for me, unfortunately.
Well, fuck your life and the nursing is. Weekends are a thing. Give them
They
their
are.
time off, goddammit. So, Ben, we have you today because you're a delightful gentleman from the great nation of Germany, and you've put yourself forward as someone who's happy to speak to the experience of being a German gainer. So, are you ready?
Yeah, totally ready. I'm very pleased that I could be part of your show, which I of course regularly listen to. Thanks for inviting me.
Well,
We really
thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for being a part of it. So, kicking things off, what is the day-to-day culture like in Germany? Not necessarily the gaining stuff, but just life. What's that like?
Well, Germany is the biggest country in Germany, Europe, I'm saying. So it's we are quite. It's a quite wealthy country, I would say. The people are having everything they need, so it's good living here. But we are known for always complaining that the grass is always greener on the other side. Well, that's a typical German thing.
Well, is that maybe the biggest misconception about Germany?
I guess one big misconception on the international side is that you easily think of Germany being the same as Bavaria, like beer and pretzels and all this. But Germany is very different from that. And this is in the structure of the country because we are a federal state with like the United States, different states. And so we don't have one big center where it all comes together. You have Berlin, but the country has many different parts where people think very different. You have the gay hotspots like Cologne. You have a little bit in Hamburg. You have a bit the sea side, and so the country is quite various inside.
And, it makes me curious, what is the culture like with regards to the fat experience, being a fat person, becoming fat, body positivity? What's that narrative like in Germany?
It's not so common, I would say. You see, of course, the people are getting bigger over the years, but it's not such a community where you have a special focus on. The people are just living the lifestyle. We have the commercials about getting slim and all this stuff, and so the general body picture is tending still smaller or slimmer. There are some hints of body positivity in commercials coming up, but in general, there's no focus on that. The fatter people are proud to show off their bodies.
See, that to me seems in such stark contrast to the way that, so for a person living in the United States, we we don't exactly have the best viewpoints of people who live in other countries, right? And we tend to stereotype them. And the stereotype of like a German citizen in the United States is like, they're big, they're hearty, they're very into, chocolate and beer and sausage. And like, we kind of see Germans as these happy, big, jolly people.
Yeah, like
who,
they are shown in
always...
The Simpsons. It's
exactly.
exactly.
Do not whip me, Mr. Simpson. I am full of chocolate.
Yeah, we are all like Uta. No, but that's
Beautiful.
interesting. When I'm seeing how Germans are shown in shows or in movies, then it's very funny sometimes, because it used to be for a long time only this Bavarian stereotype. Yeah, I kind of think it's a good marketing part of Bavaria. They were like, yeah, they knew how to show their culture in all over the world.
So like is so if so then is Bavaria kind of like the is it more traditional? Is it more touristy? Is it more
It is a little bit more traditional, and it
Mhm.
has a lot of tourist hotspots like Neuschwanstein and so.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, this is when for example, when people from the US come to Europe, they make 5 countries. They go to Paris, they go to London, they go to Bavaria and Neuschwanstein.
Ah,
That's and maybe Berlin nowadays, but it always was the most touristic part of Germany.
Mm.
gotcha.
So on the gaining side of things, I'm curious, like, what is the sort of perception that German gainers have of gaining communities in places that are more heavily represented, like in the United States
Mm.
or in the United Kingdom?
I guess we see the community in especially the States, like it's all bigger guys. You have, yeah, in general, bigger population in the United States, I would say. And on this population, the bigger guys are even more bigger. So it's that we see them like they are more the supersized guys. Britain, I must say, the community of Britain, I would say it is a little bit equal to the German community, maybe in the numbers. I guess you have as many gainers there as we have, but you have more events or more parties where they show off, and this is the difference. So the showing off is bigger in the United States or in the UK.
I
So
mean, what is
no one ever holds like a German I'm not very familiar with German cities, so like no one tries to like organize a Grommr for Berlin or
Oh, there have been Grommr in Berlin. There has been a Eurocrom in Berlin, where there was for a weekend with a loft and so. And this was, I guess, mostly comparable to the American Grommrs.
Mhm.
But besides, we have the smaller ones, which are more like we meet in public, go to a restaurant, maybe to a gay bar afterwards, but not the ones where we go and meet in the pool and then be like naked. That's the thing. When I was organizing Grommrs in Germany, there were Americans who wrote to me who wanted to attend, and then one of the first questions always was, "Will there be a pool?" Because they are so used to when getting together with other chaps, you jump into a pool and take your shirts off.
Well, I mean, it's a great excuse to be shirtless in tight little speedos in public.
Yeah.
Also, water buoyancy takes the pressure off the knee.
Yes.
So that's always good. That's always a
It's
good.
totally logical, but I guess the difference is in Germany, a lot of the gainers would be too shy to show off their bodies in public because the pools are here mixed. You have the most of the uh, um, most of the pool areas are open pool areas where anyone can go to. So if there is a group of like 15 fat guys, they'd throw attention to them. And I guess
Mm.
that's what most of the big German guys or a lot of the big German guys wouldn't like to. So they like to make their meetings more in a separated, closed space or somehow where they are not so easily recognized. Nice.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there are some very quintessential differences between like the German gaming community and, as we say, those sort of more recognizable ones around the world. What do you think is the sort of what is like your favorite? How do I want to ask this? Might be a dumb question. What is your favorite local snack and drink and meal? Like German made, German original. Everyone else in the world needs to get on board because they're missing out.
Yeah, there's for gaining, there is one snack I would definitely recommend. It's Maultaschen, uh, part from South Germany, and this is pasta filled with meat or vegetables. They are about the size of the palm of the hand, so you can eat them quite easy. Very yeah, you can just chew them or eat them in total, and yeah, they definitely have to be tried. And then in general, the German cuisine, if you want to call it that, maybe better than the British, but I'm not judging. It is based on a lot of roasted pork, roasted beef, and on dumplings, and of course krauts. And so this is the traditional German food when you come to Germany and go to a, for example, Bavarian brewery, which you find everywhere around the country. You will get Schweinsbraten with Knöse and such.
And so when you decided to gain yourself, were there any German characters that influenced you? You know, characters on TV, in German cinema?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was an influence at the time I started, but there was one German actor who was um, maybe he was hidden secretly a gainer, we don't know. It was a guy called Dirk Bach, who was a comedian in the 90s, was quite popular, and later on he was the host of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in Germany. He was out openly gay and always very loud and proud, and he was always big, had always a belly, and his belly grew over the years, so he became like a little ball figure. Suddenly he died in 2000, I guess 9 or 10, maybe due to his weight, so he was not that really slim, but he was kind of a person everyone knew, and everyone was aware of that he is a fat gay guy, and happy about it.
I wonder, this is just me being stupid. Do you think maybe, just maybe, like, do you think maybe Augustus Gloop had some kind of influence on German young kids who saw that movie at the time? I mean,
yeah, that's you know the scenes from the Chocolate Factory. This is always a figure which makes you think when you have this fetish. This is nice. And of course, what I guess everyone in a special age knows is the scene with the spaghetti pig out from the Australian TV show and such.
Mm-hmm.
So you have everyone with this fetish has the same images. And the episode of The Simpsons, of course, where Homer gets fat.
Yeah.
And what about, we tend to ask all our international guests this. What is your favorite gaining-related phrase in your mother tongue? So what is the sort of go-to German phrase of maybe encouraging someone with their growth or maybe playfully teasing them?
It's difficult to think about a phrase. When you want to describe that someone is quite big, you can say he's as breit wie hoch, so meaning as wide as tall. But I can't really think of an encouraging phrase. Maybe because we are not so openly encouraging in our country.
Well, what about when you're messaging other German gainers, and you're having a conversation and maybe you're sort of congratulating them, you look so good, you look big and fat. Like, what is there a particular phrase? Is there a
Yeah.
local phrase of what you might say?
Well, we comment on each other's bellies. We say, "Oh, schicke Wampe" oder so, or something like this. So there are more that we are using words describing the belly, because there are a lot of words for the belly, the big belly in German.
James knows this, but you don't know this, because James and I were talking about this one time that I was speaking to, I believe, an encourager from Germany. And I became obsessed with the way that he said belly in his accent. And I swear to God, I could have listened to it on repeat over and over and over again. There's just something really sexy about saying belly with a German accent.
Belly with a German accent. So I have to talk a lot about bellies and keep saying belly and belly, always just sliding into the conversation, maybe.
Exactly. Listeners, you can't see this. Tim has currently is starting to remove every article of clothing. He's pouring about 78 liters of olive oil all over his body.
And I'm rubbing my belly in front. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. See, this is why as a non-visual platform, viewers see this as the problem. You're not viewers, you're listeners. You miss out on the glory that is that belly, But we'll get to the social media handles at the end of the episode, and you can all ogle our fantastically beautiful guest from there. So here's a question for you. You described a little bit about what the gaming community is like in Germany. What changes would you want to see in the local community?
I guess the German gamer guys, or the encouragers as well, are very shy when it comes to meeting in person, when it comes to going to a Grommr or even going to one-on-one meetings. It often happens that you ride with a guy and then you get very flirty and kinky, and then the guy is just like 30 miles away, but it doesn't happen to meet. So when I compare to the distances you have in the United States, like 30 miles away, that's the neighborhood. And here, sometimes the guys say, oh, no, it's not so close. And on the other hand, you sometimes have the guys in your same city that you never meet in the same city. And then when you are in another city, then you suddenly notice, oh, there's the guy living just the street across, but at home, he never reacts.
I am sad to say that it's the same way where I live too. Like, I feel like this is just a common problem. Like, James and I have talked in past episodes about how some people in this community really kind of only live it online. It's a very sort of cyber world for them. It's not something that they ever tend to incorporate into their real life. And so it becomes even harder to find someone who is willing to meet face to face. And we've also said before, like, it doesn't, like, sex is not the implied thing here. Like, many times I have reached out to gainers within my own city and said, do you just want to meet for a cup of coffee? Would you like to go get a drink together? Would you like to go to a buffet restaurant together? Just, would you like to be able to sit down and speak openly about what you're into with another human being for the first time in your life?
Mm.
And unfortunately, I've not had much success in my city just being able to do that with people.
Yeah, the thing that's really annoying is that you have these very, very short distances between the cities. Like with 2 hours, you get into another big area, from Frankfurt to Cologne, to Stuttgart, to Munich, Berlin, Leipzig. It's all reachable within a day. So you don't have to make a trip for several days. You can just say, I grabbed the bus or grabbed the car, train, go visit you, and if it don't work out, I will be back in 2 hours. And still there is this, I guess it is a shyness about this fetish that the people don't wanna, they may have these fantasies, but they don't want it to become real, because then they think, this strange thing can't be real.
There's a repeated thing that seems to crop up both here on the podcast and just in general, where there does seem to be a disconnect between the sort of propagated fantasy and the reality that people are willing to walk with. And I think this is where communication just comes in very handy. If you really want something, you should be very clear about that. And if you really don't, you should also be clear about that. It's good advice for anyone listening, really. So, just to put this question out there to you, as a German gainer, we've sat here, we've asked you a number of questions, but is there a question that comes to mind for you where you would love to be asked about this? Is there something that you think, I really hope they talk to me about this, they ask me my thoughts about this? Is there something like that? And if so, tell us all about it.
First, I couldn't think about a question when you said the question, but maybe one thing that is interesting to answer is when someone asks, does this fetish have something to do with SM and devotion and dominant parts and so. And then I would say, yeah, I think in the core there is some part of submission, and this being wanted to being dominated in this fetish. So on this base, it is not so far from other more popular or more common fetishes in the SM world, just that it's the difference that it's not about being bond to something or having to drink like pee, but it's some other form of domination. I guess this is for a lot of gainers the core that makes them that tickles them.
Yeah,
I'd certainly agree with that. I think there's more in common with gaming and other fetishes than people often realize, uh, whether that's people in this community or outside of it. Gaining and a love for bigness is quite common. And I think if we removed the societal taboo of fat, we would recognize that actually people who like bigness is probably much more the majority than what we recognize. And maybe in a world in which we were able to remove that bias, we'd see that a bit more clearly. But this is where body positivity and fat acceptance and fat liberation comes in, taking steps towards a world in which you can just express this part of yourself without fear or
yeah. I feel
hesitation.
like we're making baby steps in the right direction. I don't think that there's going to be any kind of major overhaul coming anytime soon where all of a sudden everybody just minds their own damn business and people are allowed to look the way they want to. But we're making progress, so that's something.
Sure. I've just turned my camera off because my internet, as is typical, decided to have some problems. So this will hopefully strengthen the signal. So
Bad
we actually...
internet. We don't have that in Germany.
No, you don't
No,
have
we have
bad
the
internet
worst.
in Germany?
We have the worst. We have the worst in Europe. That's a typical stereotype. Everyone thinks, oh, German, they build cars, everything is working. They have a good bureaucracy system. The hell we have. We have the worst mobile data packages. You pay a lot of money compared to other countries in Europe. The internet is not very good, especially when you leave the big cities. So we are not such a technical ahead country as you may think.
So, because we've reached the end of our questions, Tim, I wanted to ask, was there anything that had come to mind for you for our guest this week?
Nothing in particular. I plan to get over to Europe at some point, and Germany is definitely on my list. And aside from Bavaria, which is the very touristy part, like you were saying, like I do want to see Berlin, Munich, Hamburg. I'd love to see the Black Forest. Yeah, just Germany's on my bucket list. So,
Okay, dumb question from a foreigner. Is Hamburg the birthplace of hamburgers?
Yeah, I always thought about this. I don't think so, because the hamburger goes back on the word from ham. The German word is Schinken. And Hamburg, I guess this goes back to a different root from maybe hum or hum or whatever. So even though you could imagine that there are good hamburgers in Hamburg, it is maybe not the origin.
Well, there you go. That's still on the bucket list. A Hamburg hamburger, And of course, one has to buy perfume from Cologne because,
Of course.
of course, that makes sense.
By the way, you have the word Cologne for Cologne. There is an original brand which is called 4711, 4711. This is the original Cologne brand invented in Cologne in the year 17 whatever. And it's a typical old lady perfume. And when you go to whatever old person institution in Germany, like old person's home or whatever, you will definitely find this special brand of cologne. It has a light blue design, and it smells. Everyone knows the smell because everyone as a child had a grandmother or aunt who smelled exactly like this smell.
so what does it smell like?
Old lady smell.
It's
It's
just like old ladies, so
it's
like
no,
lavender and
yeah,
baby
it's fresh.
powder and
The old ladies say, oh, they like it because it's so fresh. It has
uh,
citrus and something like this. But yeah, it's typical, very typical for women the age of 60 and more.
gotcha.
Well, there you go.
But I guess it also would suit a gay man. So feel free to buy some cologne and cologne.
I don't know if I would buy that particular cologne because I really hate those powdery, freshy kind of cologne. I like spicier, woodsier stuff. But I don't know where I was going with that.
Neither do I. I just wanted to make the joke that Tim's old, so I think an old lady
I
flowery
am not
perfume.
that old, for
He's
Christ's sake.
ancient. He is beyond death. He is eternal.
Now, what did James said something to me the other day. Oh, we were I was showing him I Love Lucy because he had never seen like a lot of that show, and I'm a huge Lucille Ball fan. And I was just giving him details about the show and like, you know, when this was airing, because, oh yeah, because you watched this when you were a kid, didn't you? And like when it first came out, I'm like, I for Christ's sake, my mother wasn't even born when this show was airing. James loves to poke fun at my age because I guess I'm leaning into the stereotype because I'm forgetting everything now. Like I can't remember shit.
You know they're older than 29.
So what was that, Ben?
You're another day older than 29.
Add 10 years to that and you'd be correct.
No, we're the same age.
Now, I am not a day over 29. So I'm actually young and youthful and vibrant and alive and full of verve and energy.
And thin and gorgeous.
I'm thin. Ha!
Ah!
Ben, do you watch AbFab?
Shame on you, you bitch. Of course, we have it. We have it here. It's great.
Something that Tim and I will love to do is just start ranting at each other in the style of either Eddie or Patsy. And I think, you know, people have cast aspersions to our pairing in the past. You know, are we the Joni and Chachi? Are we the I don't know, who are those two? Oh, I forget. I don't know.
What, Katya and Trixie?
Trixie and Katya, like, you know, like which two are we? But I do think genuinely, like, our comparable pairing is Eddie and Patsy. Because I think at a perfect time in the world, you know, I want Tim to be the kind of effortless age where he could truly be 42, but he could also be 87
65
or 65. And we just don't know. But constantly he's just burning my arms with cigarettes, and I'm just like, he's 42. And I'm just loud, ridiculous, constantly belligerently bullying my daughter, you know. That's
I know. I can't wait for a day like say like, you know, years and years from now, like if we're living together or whatnot, and you come into the kitchen and it's just been burnt to a crisp because I fell asleep with a cigarette in my mouth.
He can't be downstairs. All those firemen down there. He wouldn't have let any of alive.
Oh my God, she inhaled the kitchen.
Or you know, I would be driving pulled over by the police and I get out of the car to go, what the hell? And then just fall flat on my ass.
And there's me completely drunk, stumbling out after you. Leave him alone. That's my friend. Don't do that to my friend.
100%. Or wasn't it in that same episode with that woman honking and they get out of the car and they're like slapping at her windshield with the purse? And...
Yeah. What's your language? What's your foul language?
Actually, that's a question. So, like, AbFab for me was iconic because I was shown that by my mother, who, British herself, grew up watching a lot of British comedy. Though Australian comedy and British comedy are not really far off each other. British comedy is more formulaic, whereas Australian comedy is more deadpan, dry sarcasm. Like if a British sense of humour is a bottle of white, dry white, Australian humour is a jar of sand. Like that's how dry the humour is, and that's how I like it. Thank you.
I guess the only Australian comedy show I know is this one with the mother and the son from the 90s, something like this, where the old mother was always bullying her son who was living with her. That's the only Australian comedy I know.
Mother and son from the 90s. Gosh. I mean, if it was mother and daughter, I'd have said Kath and Kim. Undeniable. But mother and son? I mean, that could just be an episode of Neighbours, really. Probably is a plot line in Neighbours, to be fair. But, all of that to be said, Tim and I love our British comedy, our Australian comedy. What about in Germany? Like, what's the typical, what's quintessential German comedy?
Well, we are known for our not so well good humor, sense of humor. No, we have comedy as well. We have a lot of shows that we have are rip-offs of other shows. For example, we have a German version of The Office. We have, I don't know if we have anything original German comedic that someone could know. We do. Yeah, we do watch all the British and American shows. We loved Little Britain and all the stuff. So I guess the German comedy business, it has it quite hard because we just they just show the American and British shows here, and so they always have to measure on their quality of humor.
Now, Tim, did you have any other questions for our guest?
No, I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Oh, well, that's okay.
No.
Well, in that case...
Remember, I'm old. I forget things.
She is. She's very old and she forgets so many things. Like the fact that she's 794 years old. Like, I've told you this before. If you've seen Will and Grace, my goal is to start treating your age like Karen Walker's age. You are a woman in her somewhat middle age, but also you simultaneously were around at the same time as Mozart. You were there for the floods, and you were also Adam and Eve. Ageless and effortless.
As long as I never look that old.
Yes, I think that's a fair distinction, I should say. But that brings us to the end of our episode today. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you
having me
online?
Sorry, what?
Where can people find you online?
On Grommr, I'm on the nickname bellybook. That's also a page which I'm hosting with German gaining German gaining stories. You can put it into Google Translate and see funny things. Bellybook will be the name for Grommr and anything else. And there's a dog in the background barking.
Beautiful. Well, Ben,
that was Tim's dog.
Thank you so much today, and that's a wrap for now here on Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, leave a good review. If you liked this episode, the podcast, or just us in general, share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at thiccmouse. So until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is a Patreon and Enter app podcast produced by Stannnum and Thicc Mouse.
Mixed and mastered by stannnum.
Our artwork is provided by Lokitu.
Our theme song is provided by Body by Cream.